Awesome, awesome. Hello, and welcome to the Making Leader Moves podcast, the show that brings powerhouse Latinas together to discuss the challenges our comunidades are facing and the moves they make to prioritize joy in their life. Spoiler, but also no surprise here, they usually find joy within the comunidades that they create for themselves. Hola, my name is Yovana Rosales, your host here at Making Leader Moves, and I'm so excited to be here with you all today. Why? Because on today's show, we are going to talk about how crucial y importante it is to hype up your comadres, aka your support community, con mi amiga especial, Ashley. She's the author of the first Spanglish business launching toolkit, Jefa in Training. The book was a top seller on Amazon in several categories and has been endorsed by Eva Longoria, Beatriz Acevedo, Gaby Natalia, and featured on Telemundo, Me Too, Be Latina, The Authority magazine, as well as so much more. Yeah, girl, get those names in. We love that for you. All the hype, all the hype. She's also a bilingual keynote speaker, workshop presenter, content creator, and a business strategist for the New Majority. She's most recently collaborated with teams at Google, Adidas, Montclair University's Women's Entrepreneurship Week, Parsons Entrepreneurship Academy. We are Summa Wealth to present content around entrepreneurship, collaboration, creativity, as well as thought leadership. Whew, girl, you need I gotta take a sip of water with all your credentials for real, for real. Hola, amiga. I am so happy to have you here. Welcome to Making Leader Moves. So excited to have you on the show. I know I talked so much about you. I know I have hyped you up, but if there's anything that I have missed, please let us know. And the question that I first have after you introduce yourself a little more to us is, how did you end up becoming the author and impacting so many Latina lives? Was it your original path? Did you think that this is where your life would take you? And is this what you pictured for yourself as a child?
Thank you so much, Giovanna, for that wonderful introduction. I'm so happy to be here. I feel like this is long overdue. So thank you for having me, and thank you all for listening. I think you hit the nail on the head with the introduction. There's no need for me to recollect all of my milestones when you already did. But I will tell you that I think maybe deep down inside as a child, I knew that this was going to be my path. Um, on the way there, though, on the way here, rather, I don't think I knew what I was doing at all. Um, I I am a pretty intuitive person, so I think I always know, what's right. But we get confused sometimes. We get confused sometimes, and
We're
we
human.
let
It's okay.
society influence us a lot, and, we get put in these boxes, right? And we feel like we're supposed to be doing things because our parents maybe think it's right for us, or our friends are doing it, or just the culture tells us to do it. Um, but I knew that I always liked to write, and I knew that that was always my favorite way to express myself. When I would get mad at my mom, I would, like, write her little cartitas, like, little letters.
Stop
Um,
it. This
'Cause
is something for me.
I didn't wanna talk to her because I was, like, low key, like, scared, like, but, like, Mexican moms, if you got one, you know what I'm talking about. And so I would, like, write her letters instead, and so, like, I knew that that was what I wanted to do. But, you get all these people telling you that as a creative person, like, as a writer, it's really hard to make a living,
Absolutely.
and then, of course, I went from wanting to be a writer to being a songwriter, which was even worse, I think.
Oh, no, why? Why is that
Um,
worse?
well, on the scale of profitable creative career paths, music is definitely lower. Um, and not saying that you shouldn't pursue music, because you should if that's your path. But it's just listening to all the noise, right? It's that, oh, you should really have a backup plan. oh, you're in music, so what do you really do? You know?
Ooh, yeah.
It's even happened to me recently. I was getting my makeup done somewhere, for a speaking engagement, and my makeup artist, she's amazing, and she promotes me all the time, and she was like, uh, she introduced me to one of her other clients, and I said, "Oh, I'm an author," and she goes, "Oh, but you must not make any money from that." And it felt so good to be like, "Actually, I'm getting my makeup done now to go speak at Adidas for, like, a lot of money."
Bam.
Um,
Dish was served cold, ladies and gentlemen. Love
and
it.
so I think that I always, envisioned myself as this, like, powerhouse person who hopefully inspires a lot of people. When I was a child, I'm just not really sure I knew in what way that would happen,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. No. That totally resonates. Um, so you have your book, right? Hefine Training. I was honored to be part of it. That was a great experience. And shout out to Vanessa Castillo as well as her partner for creating an amazing book tour for you on in real person. And then I took over the virtual part. But right here at Leader Making Leader Moves, we talk a lot about comunidad and how important and how vital that is. And so I want to talk about that for you. Um, how important and how vital was it for your comadres to come out and show up during your book launch?
I mean, it's not just the book launch either. I think the community built the book. The community built My community built the idea for the book, and
Mhm.
the content of the book is all community based, and not even just the book actually. Like, my whole business has been built from the people I consider my community. Every time I I launch a program like these masterminds that I just launched, or the retreat and the things that we do on the retreats, or the way that I serve one-on-one clients. Like, I take feedback super, super seriously. And so I implement a lot of that to build things out. And the book was really by request. It was The real idea came to me, when I was building my nonprofit, which was also very community based, but I really set out to do it when I started working with the Mujerista community, which we also worked on together.
Oh,
And it
shout
was
out to the Mujerista.
Yes,
Yes,
shout out to
yes.
Mujerista. But that platform really, and connecting with people through there, really showed me that Latinas needed a go-to resource when they were building their businesses, because I would talk to people and they would say, "Oh yeah, I've read this book, but I don't resonate with it. Oh yeah, I read this blog or listen to this podcast, but I can't really connect to it. It's hard to, because these people don't have anything in common with me." And so I set out to write this book, and thankfully I got a book deal and was able to put it together. And there's a reason that I included, stories from other Latinas and their perspectives in the book. And it's because it's not enough for me to just have my perspective on business in there. People need to see a diverse perspective of other members of the Latina community doing doing things that they want to do, because we know that representation is important. So community for me really became important from even before the book was launched. It
Right.
was like from idea phase to conception to, even like the pre-launch phase. The reason that my book has been successful is because I did not rely on the Amazon ads that my publisher was pushing out. It's because I relied on the community that we have, and that's starting from, like, the Latina bookstores that we reached out to do a virtual tour with, and did virtual
Mhm.
events with all the Latino, media outlets, like Be Latina, The Mujerista, Hip Latina, like, everyone who supported the book in that way.
Mhm.
And then, for the actual launch, for all of you to come out and support and help out and spread the word, like, that it's really been a whole community project.
I mean, it really has, which is so beautiful to see. I think there's beyond magic in that. There are no words for witnessing all of that magic to happen, for all that collaboration to happen, for estamos aquí juntas, we're here together. This isn't a competition. And I remember when your book launch was happening, I mean, you were talking to other folks and being like, okay, so what's your book idea? What's your book idea? I even got it, yo, what's your book idea? And I was like, wait, tranquila, like I'm not even here yet. But that goes to show the power of amazing leadership, right? Like you knew that your book was community. Like you said, you put representation in there with other Latina females. Not only was that representation, but that was also like great leadership, right? Because you shared your space. And it's very true with the Spanish saying that goes, donde come uno, comen dos. Like there's enough for us at the table. And you made that very clear, not only with the book itself, but also when you were on tour, on your book tour, which it's such an amazing leadership attribute. We love this for you,
Oh.
and for ourselves. So how important is support in the community, for yourself, not only professionally but both personally?
Well, I have to say I am a person with not very many friends, in my personal life. And that has become even more apparent, um, once you kind of become a public figure, and you have something that people want, people take advantage. And so for me, having like a true community, not just professionally, um, but personally, like real like friends who will come through like no matter what, has been super, super important, especially in this time of like tremendous growth and changes for me. And for me, I just got very lucky that the people that were helping me professionally were also my friends. Like, I am one of the lucky ones. I truly am, because I know that that doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
And so that is just 100% a win for me, and I think for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I think and that is hard, right? That is hard because I like you're an actual friend of mine. Like you one of my ride or dies. I always call you in a moment of panic. But we also have an also professional relationship. And that's very hard to balance. And even it's very easier to get the lines blurry in that than balance it. So kudos to you to be able to find people that you're like, okay, right now it's my friend cap, and then right now it's my professional cap. And we've had those before, right? Like I remember I went to go visit you in Portland, and you're like, I am speaking to you as your coach, right? Not your friend. And right, like lagrimas were coming, like the water, like I had all the waterworks. But it was because like you were coming from an amazing place. And then like right afterwards, you're like, okay, I'm done speaking to you as your coach. Like now I'm speaking to you as your friend. Esa terca, like, right?
I did say you could shit talk your coach to your friend.
And you were like, I get it. I'd be like, she talking me a little bit low key. And I was like, no, but maybe like that was the tough love that I needed then. That was the professional advice I needed. And then you gave me the space to be like, girl, it's cool. Cry it out. We're here together. It's amazing. So being able to find that balance, it's priceless. It's priceless. And I'm also full of gratitude for being able to have you in my life that way and vice versa. So again, yay us.
I agree with that statement, and the balance is hard. And I wouldn't say that I'm an expert at it either. I think maybe no one is, because the lines can get blurry sometimes. But for all of you entrepreneurs out there, if you're doing business with your friends, just please, please, please get everything in writing.
Mm,
Like, especially when you're working with your friends, because you never, never ever want to be in the situation where you're like, "Oh, I thought you were doing this, and you thought that I was doing this," and it becomes like a horror show of like who said what and when did we say this, and money gets involved, and you
Yeah.
never want to be in that situation that could ruin like an amazing once in a lifetime friendship ever.
And I think full transparency, you and I have signed like five contracts together, if I'm not mistaken, at least. So no, but you're like, I'm glad that you pointed that out, because that is very true. It's not only about the switching of the caps, but it's like, let's just make shit legal, because that's how it's going to come correct, and that's how everyone will flourish, and that's how everyone will thrive in this. Because now, since it is in writing and we both have signed in blood almost, now we all know what we're responsible for, what our deliverables are, and how we can all flourish together. So what a great what a great point to bring up. I also wanted to ask, how mentally stimulating is it to be able to have support both professionally as well as personally?
I mean, I think great inspiration and creativity comes from collaboration. I One of my favorite things that I have done recently is host this retreat. I hosted a retreat in Mexico with 7 jefas. I brought them all to where my family is from in Mexico, in Morelia. Shout out to all my jefas who came on the retreat. And it was a whole other community building kind of experience because we all arrived as strangers. I only really knew one of them in person, and only 2 of them were my clients. So the rest were really new to me. And I was worried about if everyone was going to get along, if everyone was going to be able to work together in a professional setting. But there's just something that was built there because everyone came in with a collaboration mindset. No one came in with, oh, well, I'm going to try to get the most one on one time with Ashley, and I'm going to only be here for myself. Like, everyone was there, of course, to work on their own businesses, but everyone gave back as much as they took in during that retreat. And that was incredibly important and why it was so successful.
Mm-hmm.
And also why I interviewed everybody before I accepted them on the retreat.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that, you know, people are scared to collaborate a lot of the time. They're like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about my ideas because someone's gonna take it. Someone's gonna do this."
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Let me tell you something that I say in a lot of my talks that I do, that talk is cheap, right? Like, I'm so down to tell you about my next book idea because I'm not afraid that you're gonna write a 80,000 word book before. Like, I'm really not. Talk is cheap, it's hard to actually do the things.
Yeah.
And like,
It's funny because I went to a conference and they had mentioned that too. They're like, don't be scared to share your ideas. 9 out of 10 times people aren't going to do it. They're not going to take it. They're just, it's not their passion, or it's not their focus. So don't
I
worry
mean,
about it.
it's that, and also no one's gonna do it the exact same way that you're going to do it, right? That's also part of like knowing who you are and what you have to bring to the table and how to leverage it. It's super important.
Mhm.
Um, but I think along with that, collaboration can create opportunities for a lot of different things. Um, and it shouldn't be overlooked as a tool to growth.
Mhm. I also wanted to talk about, because I remember you had mentioned this to me when we were talking about your retreat, when we were recapping your retreat. You had said like all of these women were amazing. They all collaborated with one another. They all showed up for one another, but they also gave me input, right? And like, this is what makes you an amazing leader, is that you were like, damn, clearly I'm doing my job because they are seeing things that I'm not seeing. And you, right, have publishing a book, right, like an actual author, first time ever making a Spanglish business book, you creating this retreat for them, creating all these amazing experiences, but you being humble enough to receive, not only receive, but intake all that information to better your next product, or better your next service, or better serve your community. I think that was great. And like, if you just want to elaborate on that.
Oh yeah, I had 2 people on the retreat check me. It was great. It was amazing. It was a very humbling experience, but it's still like their words are still something that I think about literally every day.
Love
So
it.
I had one of the exercises that I did, which is very very accurate for this conversation, is I had them break out into pairs, and for 10 minutes, they were tasked with brainstorming partnership opportunities for the other person's business, and then we swapped. So,
Okay.
like, it was like if I were sitting here 10 minutes brainstorming for you, and then you were sitting here, brainstorming for me. And so the first round that I did, I was, giving my feedback and this and that, and then I thought we were gonna call it a day. I did not expect that this person to come around and be like, "Okay, so I've been thinking for you that maybe you should try to do this with this with this person, and why haven't you reached out to this person yet? Like, they know you, they're a big deal, blah, blah, blah." And I'm over here, like, shook. Like, I'm like, "Oh, uh, you're right." Right. Yeah, you're totally right. Like, why haven't I reached out to this person yet? I'm over here taking notes, like, being completely schooled by my students. And I, like, I got into, like, this really awkward space of, like, not really knowing what to say back, and she was like, "Why are you being like this? I'm literally just repeating what you've taught us back to you." I'm like, right. See, we all need our people to come in and check in on us at some point.
I love that for you, right? Because it's something like you say, you keep in your mind every day. So clearly it was very impactful. It was very important. And it's kind of creating some type of footprint for your, like I said, like your next project for you to always be having this in the back of your head. So shout out to that person or those group of people, because I think you had mentioned it was two. So I'm shout out to them.
Wow, shout out to Giselle of Be Latina, and shout out to Lisa Marie of Bunch X Beats, who are not afraid to be like, "Hey, girl."
We're here for it. We're here for it. Where do you think you would be right now if it wasn't for your comadres hyping you up, aka showing their love and their genuine support for you on this journey that you have gone through? Because when I met you, right, we were both working at the Mujerista. Now you are an author. You did the retreat. We've helped on the book tour, or I've helped on the book tour. You have a retreat coming up in a few weeks, and then you were already talking about doing your other big retreat out in Morelia, and then you're even talking about doing the second book. So if it wasn't for them showing up, hyping you up, supporting you throughout all of it, or even throughout different stages of it, because I know certain people have caught you at different times of your life journey, where do you think you would be?
I don't think I would have made it past writing the book.
Mm.
Like, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe the book would have turned out a lot differently.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it wouldn't have been amplified as much, or the importance would have been amplified as much. Yeah, it would be completely different.
Mm-hmm. We wouldn't have the Ashley that we know and love
Oh,
today.
definitely not.
What tools and resources can we use to make sure that we are on the right path of our entrepreneurial journey? If you can name the top three most crucial moves we should make now, as in today.
As in today. Okay, number 1, shameless plug,
I was like, plug yourself, girl. There is no shame here.
pick up a copy of Hefan Training immediately. And I will tell you, if you're listening to this and you already have been in business for a while, still pick it up. Because I will tell you that now that the book has been out for a year, people are starting to message me to say that they have gone through the exercises a few times, and that's feedback that I got even at my launch party last year, that people with businesses of like 20 years, are still finding the exercises helpful. It's a toolkit, right? So you can pick and choose the tools that you want to use in there and just leave it at that. Number two, um, kind of going along with that, make sure your foundation is set, because especially when we're in a high growth phase of our business, uh, going back to those foundational elements to like assess where we're at and what's working and what's not working is super, super important, because we have to remember that a $50,000 side hustle is not the same as a $250,000 business. So the way that we get there is going to be different, and don't be afraid to kind of change things up, even if they've worked for you in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And number three is, don't let the lack of resources or representation or your limited background, like that you feel like you might have, stop you from pursuing entrepreneurship, because I didn't have any of that. I didn't have resources. I didn't have a family member to give me $15,000 to start a business. I didn't have a business degree. Like, I didn't have any of that. And I am sitting here in front of you on this podcast now, one of the 18% of women who have a six-figure business. And I am one of those people.
Hey.
I did not have any of that. So don't let that stop you. The only thing that you need to have is a good idea of what makes you different and how you can leverage that. Because at the end of the day, that's all I have.
Mm.
So,
Very, very insightful. We love these tips. For me, when you say make sure that you have like a grounding foundation, what would that entail? Like, what are just some of the tidbits that would entail?
well, a community is part of that. A community is definitely part of that. Having a support system that you can call on for, mentorship. In the book, we talk about like your personal board of advisors. Paulette Pinheiro talks about that in her section in the book, Ponte las pilas. So make sure you check it out. But yeah, I think that's definitely a part of the foundation, right? But it's also like having a mission and a vision and a cohesive brand and your financial plan and all of your legal things set in stone. All of the things that you might be able to find in the pre-launch checklist of the book.
Uh-huh.
um, that is what a foundation is, and like how you operate, how you communicate with your customers, all of that stuff is part of your foundation.
Awesome. Love it. So here at Making Leader Moves, we love to normalize being a human, which includes bumps on the road or hiccups, if you will. What is a time that you felt that you had a major, like a severe bump on the road, almost a crash, right? But you didn't let that stop you from focusing on your goal, no matter how much hardship that situation or that experience was.
Oh, um, well, I am the queen of many pivots over here. I can definitely talk about the big one, which I think affected a lot of us, which was COVID.
Mhm.
Um, and at the time, I was still running my international nonprofit, which was a live music nonprofit organization. So you can imagine what can happen when you're running a live music organization, and live music is not a thing anymore. And you don't know when live music is going to come back.
Oh my goodness.
And so all of these uh, songwriters who are counting on you in 16 international cities to create opportunities for them, you didn't have a way to do that
Mhm.
anymore. And that was also the same year it was our highest growth year, 2019. And the first year that I had secured almost $100,000 in sponsorships for the
Mhm.
following year. And literally overnight, they were gone. And so I really had to figure out our next move, and I gave myself some time to think about it, and we tested a lot of different things out. And at the end of the day, I had to realize that the universe was aligning itself so that I could realize my full potential through working with the Mujerista around that same time, and getting my book deal shortly after. And so I just kind of had to trust the journey a
Mhm.
little bit. And that's kind of like where I'm saying, like, you have to know what you're good at and what you can bring to the table and what makes you different, and all of these like pivots and different skills that I've acquired along the way. That's at the end of the day why people hire me now, to
Mhm.
help them grow their businesses, because me, someone with a creative background and, coming from music and community marketing and biz dev, like, I'm not going to give you the same perspective on how to grow your business than somebody that went to business school. I'm not.
It's true. Uh-huh.
And so it's really just trusting the process and the journey, and knowing yourself and knowing how to use that to grow.
How hard is it to quote unquote trust the process? Because it's so much easier said than done. And I know for me personally, I think that's where I'm not going to say most, but I know a good portion of where my anxiety came from was because I wasn't trusting the process, because I was resisting, because I was thinking that I should have been at location A and the universe is like, girl, you belong in D. Like you need to chill out. And but by trusting the process, I mean there's been just so much rejection that has came through that, right? Like I had posted something on LinkedIn, like, yo, there was a 2-month process. I could have sworn this contract was in the bag. Like I was already hyping myself up, cheering my like celebrating, right? And then it was like, nah, this isn't for you though. And that crash was really hard, but I had you, I had Paulette, and just being like, yo, like just trust the, like it's okay, trust the process. And like obviously I was in tears, but that's so hard. Like where do you get el empeño, like where do you get the courage to just be like, all right, I'm gonna just let go of the reins?
I mean, I think that growing up, I put a lot of pressure on like being able to control
Of
situations,
course.
and that caused me a lot of stress as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And as I got older, I realized that I could only through therapy, I'm pretty sure, I could only control what I could control.
Mm-hmm.
So now I try to no longer worry about what I cannot control. And at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, if I show up and do my best and just do what I am doing, like the rest is just gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also, I have to say, I am way more comfortable with uncertainty than a lot of people.
It is true though.
um, like I've always been like I'm the farthest thing from like a type A person that you'll meet. Like think, and I've always been kind of like a wing it kind of person. And that's helped a lot. Um, which is why most of the clients that I work with are type A, kind of like anxious people, because I make them feel uncomfortable, but in like a really good way in order for them to see growth. Um, so yeah, I don't have any super solid advice about that to be honest, but I will say that just try it. Like
Yeah.
just try it about something like completely like minor,
Mm-hmm.
like if you're anxious about like sending an email, just like send it
Mm-hmm.
and you'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's gonna happen is gonna happen. What's not gonna happen, it's not gonna happen.
I love that you brought that up because I we were talking backstage, you and I had mentioned to you that I had gone to this networking event and I was very like not about that life. I was telling Ashley like these are like corporate professionals, girl. Like I have blue hair. I am going to stick out as soon as I arrive. And sure enough, I did. And but I did. I was like, yo, I'm gonna go. Like I have to go. And then she like prepped me up more, and she was like, of course, like make sure to take your speaker page, blah blah blah. ended up being like such a great opportunity. I met people that I'm like going to be their mentors. And now I've met people that are willing to be my champions, and that there might be speaking opportunities for me like a lot sooner than later. And so just and that was trusting the process, right? My process was like, I'm getting anxious. I have no one to go with. I don't know anyone. And I know all of these people aren't entrepreneurs. Like, what am I even doing there? Like, that was the question. Even as I was driving and like I parked, I was like, what am I even doing here? It ended up being the best experience of all time, because I came and gave them una salsa or un sazon that they probably didn't even know that they were missing, right? And it was the fact that because I'm not corporate, I can just be myself and I can just show up and be authentic. And all of these great, amazing opportunities came through because I trusted the process. I tried to fight it, right? I even got nauseous about it, but we went in and we did the damn thing.
And you did the thing. There you go.
And I did the thing. Yeah. So Ashley, what communities do you find helpful to break the stigma about speaking our goals, our desires, our strategies, and passions within entrepreneurship, within the Latino or Latina community? Are there any communities that you find helpful that help break the stigma of not talking about it and amplifying your voice?
I mean, I am very excited for the relaunch of the Mujerista community. I'm not supposed to talk about it any further than what I just said, but it is coming and it is coming soon.
I am counting down the days. I don't know, but yes, I'm so excited. I'm here for it.
Oh, yes, it is coming soon. That's all I will tell you. And so I'm very, very excited about that because I really do think that Mari has done a great job with the content and like
Mhm.
her priorities. And I just caught up with her yesterday and like hearing about some of the ideas that she has for the future. Like I think it's gonna be a really, really wonderful. So I'm excited about that.
Yay, the Mujerista. I'm gonna let the OG squad know, and to like look out at their emails. Be like, oh, I heard that there's something coming through. Like, it's gonna pop. It's gonna start popping. Let's get it together.
Mhm.
Is there any other communities that you follow that are Latino based as well?
In terms of like community spaces, I mean, I really like the way that I know Cadena Collective like sells products, but I really like the way that they address a lot of
Oh, it's so beautiful. Yeah.
uh, a lot of stories in our community. I think that they do that in a really tasteful way. That's like pretty inspiring.
Mhm.
Um, and in terms of other people who address certain issues. There's a leadership coach. I mean, obviously, Paulette. I love her community, Unstoppable Latina. Like, I love everything that she shares. Um, yeah, I would say those are my tops.
Love to hear it. Um, and shameless plug for them. I've been part of the Mujerista and Unstoppable Latina, and I cannot speak highlier of them than what I already do. So I'm excited to hear that the Mujerista is coming back. I may or may not be texting Mari after this after this episode to get the details. um, Ashley, where do you find your communities to help support you? And both virtually as well as in person.
Like where as in a platform?
So you can either talk about like, how did you come to find the Mujerista, or how did you find other like digital platforms, and then as well as like how did you find the support team that you have that's live, right? Because like I have a little support team here in Chicago, but the majority of my support team is not here. It's
Mm-hmm.
not here. And that's my truth. Like, that's my reality. So that's another reason why I'm starting to network a lot more, because like I obviously, right? Like I love you all, but I want a hug sometimes. Like I want a
I
real
feel
talk.
that. I'm in the same boat over here.
So it sounds like one of us has to move. It'll be me. I totally am down to move to Portland. But no, like obviously, right? I like go travel to see you. I go to see travel our other friends. But that's why I'm trying to open up my community here because like I do want to strategize with people here. I do want that human connection. I don't want it all the time over the screen. And I can't always, I don't have enough rewards points on my miles, y'all, to go visit you all the time. So
We're
yeah,
over here manifesting paid speaking engagements so we could go see each other. That's
there we
happening.
go. Done it. In the same cities that we live in.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. I think where is just the power of the internet. And it all kind of came together at a time where we were all quarantined and on the internet a lot more than a person should be. So it was lucky in that time frame, but there is so much opportunity to connect with people, and people are so open about having virtual cafecitos with people now, like don't miss out on those opportunities. And if I have the time, like I will do it. Like I love connecting with new people in that way. And so I yeah, just don't sleep on that, and don't be afraid to ask someone like, "Hey, like, do you want to have a virtual cafecito with me?" Because most people will do it, and if they don't, they probably really just don't have the time. Like last year, I did not have the time to do any of that.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you reached out to me last year, please do it again because I do have a little bit more time now.
Which I guess like this could be this is a pop-up question is how important is it not only to have a comunidad but to keep on networking, to keep on exposing yourself, right? Like you're an author now, right? Like you're up here. You're out here doing the damn thing. But even at your level, how important is it for you to show up to networking events, whether it's virtual, whether it's in person? And how do we I guess like how do we hype ourselves up? Like me, right? Like yesterday I was telling you, like I went by myself. I was coming up with
Mhm.
I had 1,000 excuses as to why not to walk in that door, and I did it, and it came out great. But like, how vital is it to keep your business going as an entrepreneur?
I mean, it's a necessity. Like you're always going to need to tap into other audiences or partnerships or for anything new. Like that's where kind of that collaboration comes into play, right? Or even just like something that somebody else says might inspire you to do something,
Mm,
right? Even as it's just as simple as that, right? Like, oh, well, Yovana said this in our conversation, so maybe I should think about doing this because she said it's a need, right? It might even
mhm,
inspire your next business idea. Like, you don't know. But we can't just live in our own heads all the time.
right.
Like, we can't. We're going to get stuck eventually.
Yeah, I mean, you can only give yourself the same advice over and over again, right? Like, you can only eat the turkey club sandwich so many times in a month
Exactly.
and not have a hot plate of food. And another thing that I kind of want to point out as to why networking is so important is because you never know the network that the person you're networking with has.
Hmm.
Like you don't know who they know. You don't know who they have connects with. So even like if I'm out here like, hey Ash, I love talking about community. I love, speaking about in general about community and how it's so important, and you're like, oh, okay, I may not have anything, but you know what? I know the curator at XYZ, they're actually putting a
Hmm.
women's panel month together. Let me see if they're still looking for speakers or if they're looking for moderators.
Hmm.
I may never know them, but you're able to do that connect for me. So, like, that's another reason as to why. Because you
Yeah.
indirectly become part of someone else's network.
Hmm. Which can be very, very valuable.
Yeah, it can lead up to that cha-ching. In every episode, we ask our guests to recommend a book for our líderes. Can you tell us a book that you would recommend? And obviously, feel free to talk more about HIFA and training.
Well, yes, I will recommend HIF fun training, but I think the perfect you've probably heard enough about that one by now. But the perfect complement, I think, is Natalie Molino Niño's Leapfrog. Um,
Leapfrog. Okay.
if you haven't read Leapfrog yet, definitely do. I waited way too long to do it. Um, I think HIFA training does a really good job at providing like actual tools and frameworks you can use to build your business, but HIFA training doesn't actually cover enough on like the mindset that you need to have in certain situations. Um, more of like those softer skills, right? And so Leapfrog definitely does a really good job at doing that. And I think it's an amazing book. It's the only other that I would currently recommend. So definitely go out and buy that.
Who was the author again? I'm sorry, you had blurred out.
Natalie Vigneault.
No, okay, perfect. I will, like, when we publish this, I'll write this in the comments as well. So we appreciate it. And you know what? That's actually a really good point. And I had to work through this, and you saw that journey for me was, even though you and I had started working together, I just had so much stuff in my head that I had to, like, I had to get out of that garbage. I basically had to reprogram myself because I came from corporate for so long, right? Like 12 years plus. And so no matter the guidance, no matter the tools, no matter the resources, it all starts in here. It all starts in your mind. And so the fact that you can say like, yo, this is a great book. It's a complimentary, like you need to get this together before you can even start. And I know that that's for real what happened to me. Because now I feel like I'm zooming. Like I know what's happening. Like it's just like, oh, okay, now all of these pieces of the puzzle make sense. Now all these resources make sense. Now all of these tools make sense. But it took about what, 2.5 years for me to get my mindset correct. And that's a process, and it's still an everyday process. But for me to get to that was it was a lot. So I thank you so much for making that very clear and to normalize that too, because we don't realize how much our mind, like the energy that it takes up for you to not even be able to perform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Love that. Okay, Ashley, we are coming up to our time, which is so sad for everyone, the listeners, myself included. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your expertise and resources on the Making Líder Moves community. We really appreciate it, and all you do for Latinas and their general entrepreneurial journey, as well as their well-being. How can our líderes here keep up with you and follow up with you?
Instagram and LinkedIn at Ashley K. Stoyanov Ojeda are my most active platforms.
Okay.
Also, I have my newsletter, La Hoja, that comes out at least once a month. That's going to be getting a revamp soon, so I'm very excited about that. So make sure you sign up for my newsletter. You can do that on my website. And yeah, that's it.
Any projects that you want to talk about that are coming up soon that you're really stoked of? Because
Yeah.
I can talk about them because I'm getting FOMO already.
I mean, I'm super excited. So I've got a course that's going to be coming out soon. By the time this episode comes out, I imagine it will already be up for pre-sale, if not already on sale. So definitely make sure you go to all of my links to find out more about that. And it's all about pitching yourself for any and every opportunity. So it's going to talk about pitching to media, pitching for partnerships, examples of pitch decks, all that stuff. So you definitely want to check that out. I'm also going to be announcing to my VIPs about my Mexico retreat for fall this year, probably towards the end of February, early March. So that means for general public, if it doesn't sell out, probably mid-March, is when I'll announce that. And yeah, about future book stuff, like we'll have to see. Can't really talk too much about that yet, but make sure you sign up for the newsletter.
We'll be stalking you on IG as well, just to see
Yes.
how you're writing and how your creativity
Yes.
is flowing, and what coffee shop you're visiting out in Portland next.
Exactly.
Ashley, amiga, thank you again so much for sharing tu tiempo y tu knowledge con nosotras. I will see you in a few weeks for our workation. Manifesting that shit, so there we go. I'm calling it out in the universe.
Yes.
So I cannot wait to see you. For all of those who have joined, thank you so much for listening. I hope you were able to receive the gems of knowledge that were dropped here today on today's episode with Ashley. Don't forget to leave us a review, 5 estrellitas, por favor. And join the online community Making Neither Moves on Facebook as well as Instagram. If you do have any questions about the podcast itself, please feel free to email us at makingleadermoves@gmail.com. Gracias once again, and I will catch you on the next episodio. Abrazos, besos y cariño, familia. Bye.
Bye.